Welcome, Sam, to the Stars in the Making, a lawyer who graduated from Harvard, and sending a shout out the class of 2022 Harvard Law School, and especially the African students. He's here with a message of hope and persistency. Welcome, Sam. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me, Ricardo.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure to be having this conversation with you today.
Of course. Talk to me about, I want to know about everything. Like, since you started in Kenya to this point where you are, I'm very proud of you. I've been following your journey since you have started, and then you got it done as honor, student from back home until Harvard. You were pretty much on the top of the list. So we are really glad to have you here on the Stars in the Making. So I wanted to know, talk to me about yourself. First, introduce yourself, please.
So thank you. Although there is much to say about me, really.
Right.
I'm just going to focus to the questions that you've put.
Yes.
About my journey up to here.
Mm-hmm.
I think, so to start with, I grew up in Kenya and I went to law school in Kenya. Qualified as a lawyer back home.
Beautiful.
Practiced for a bit, about 3 years before moving to Harvard Law School. Right. Where I undertook a Master of Laws, LLM, which I just completed a few months ago.
So LLM, what it stands for, again, because maybe many people they don't know about.
So an LLM is a Master of Laws, which is done by it's undertaken by lawyers people who have already qualified as lawyers. Right. So it's a graduate degree.
Beautiful.
So that's what I undertook. It's a 1-year program that I undertook between last year and this year.
Nice. Talk to me about the journey. And I know that you have, what is the journey? Because many students and people, they don't know really how it takes. And especially, I'm going to focusing on Africa. Like, I'm not talking just about Kenya, but I'm focusing on African at whole in 54 countries. Because many people, they don't really know what it takes to get to the top universities in the world. And you were selected for the top 5 universities in the world, actually. And what took for you to get here, to get to this point? What was your drive?
Right. So I would say that you're right about one thing. There isn't much information on how to get into these top law schools.
Yes, exactly.
Especially if you're an African, because I remember when I was looking for a law school to undertake a master's in, there wasn't really much information on what these universities are looking for. Even though there is information, but it's not really specific to an African or a Kenyan student.
Yes.
But I would start by saying that from the process that I went through, I would say that what these law schools are looking for is not just good grades. Also, the drive that you portray, demonstrate in your application.
I see.
Are you someone willing to undertake serious study, and what do you want to do with your LLM or law degree beyond law school?
So what do you say they see your, how do you start it from the very beginning, or what is that when you say they see your journey? It's not just like your grades, but they also see your journey, right?
That's correct. Your journey.
How do they see that? Like, what is your take on that?
I would say, so because a Master of Laws is something undertaken by someone who has already qualified.
Right.
With an LLB, for example, a first law degree back home. They would see they would ask themselves what you've been doing with your law degree. Have you been practicing in a law firm? What impact are you likely to make with your law degree and with your Master of Laws? And by the way, the same is true for to Harvard or other law schools to study, their first law degree there, what they call a Juris Doctor.
Okay.
Law schools are interested in knowing are you passionate about what you're applying for? Do you have the potential to make a change, no matter how little? It doesn't really matter that you've not had a chance to do a lot of things. Because, most applicants are quite young, will be quite young, and will not have had much time to, do big things. But, law schools, I would say, look at your application in a wholesome manner to see, is there promise in it? Are you likely to do good things with your law degree?
Right. Yeah. And when you say you're likely to do good things with your law degree, I want to go back to where where we're from, which is, I'm talking not just Kenya, but Africa in general. I think we share similarities, many similarities, even though I'm from Angola and you're from Kenya. Talk to me about your background, your grow up. How do you grow up?
Right. So, it's, you mentioned something really close to my heart, because I think, Africa generally, Africa has got, all African countries have almost similar problems.
Yes,
problems
that's true.
With governance, problem with justice systems.
Justice system.
That do not work effectively, and they depend on, professionals and other people to make them better now and in future. Right. So what I want to say about that, I would say, you've asked about my journey growing up. I grew up in a humble background. Okay. My mother was a teacher, like what do they call them?
It's like a primary school, high school,
pre-primary school.
Pre-primary school.
Pre-primary school.
Yeah,
teacher. And my dad is a farmer.
Oh, nice.
So, but my grandfather was, interestingly, a very litigious person. Right. The kind that would take you to court real quick. Right. Because you crossed the boundary. Yeah,
exactly. I don't want to cut you off. I was reading your article that you did with what is the university? Riara University,
which is my alma mater.
Right, that you did it, and you actually talk about your grandfather, like he was someone that you really look up to and all that stuff. Yeah, go ahead, please.
Yeah. So he's a very interesting man that I really look up to. He's not a lawyer. He was a cop at some point. But I look up to him because he's one of those people really focused and really means business. And,
right.
He keeps his word. So I think growing up, my grandfather taught me many things.
That was a boost.
Yeah. That you don't have to take whatever society gives you.
Yes.
There has to be something beyond what someone is telling you, or beyond what someone is doing. So I remember, my father brought a few lawsuits against, a few, neighbors. Right. And the like. So, it was, he's really fun. And I think that influenced me to want to know more about law, and at the same time there was momentum for constitutional change while I was growing up. Constitutional change in our country, of course, leading up to the 2010 Kenyan Constitution. Wow. So I think at that time I really wanted to study law. So
go deep about that. Like, there is something that we're affecting people in a matter that you wanted to change, particularly for you to take this path of law, or what is it? Let's go deeper.
Right. So beyond the passion for law, and beyond the passion to know more, the interest to know more, there was something that I felt like lawyers in our country seem to be very influential, especially when it comes to justice systems, and when it comes to
very true
legal reform, and when it comes, so people look up to lawyers and expect them to contribute fight for them,
because that's the voice. Exactly.
Right. So they expect lawyers to do something, and unfortunately other people that are not lawyers do not think that they can contribute, which is of course wrong. But at that time I thought, because lawyers have been touted as the reformers, and as the voice for everyone, why don't I also join the legal profession and see if I could make a contribution,
a change on this?
Because many poor people cannot even afford a lawyer, even up to now.
Yeah.
In our country and in Africa generally.
Yes, that's
there's a
true.
lot of injustice that goes on because you don't have a lawyer, because you don't know what the law is.
Exactly.
You don't know what your rights are. So growing up in a community where we never had any lawyers, I thought, there were a few lawyers. But I thought maybe if I became a lawyer, I could help the society in a way. In fighting for their rights.
Exactly.
Making people know what their rights are to start with.
Wow.
So I thought that getting a law degree was the best thing for me.
This is a very powerful. We have pretty much a similar story, because coming from Angola, I always seen that, as as Africans, we have all the power. The system is not really for us, for the little guy. It's always for the elite.
Absolutely.
Like, the system works for who is there. Like, you gotta have connections. And me, as growing up, what you just said, seeing that's the reason that made me. So I did criminal justice, of course, better. I did criminal justice in school for that exact reason, because I want to go back home and make a change in some kind of way. So we pretty much are in the same. We have the same vision and the same path, and I love that. And one thing that I wanted to know more, talk to me about how did you got selected, because I know that you had a humble beginning, and I would say you got in one of the top university. This is Harvard we are talking about here, and it's not easy. The bill is pretty high, So how did you make it happen? And maybe if someone out there want to know about things like that, and they want to get there to that point, how you made it happen?
Right. No, it's a pleasure to be talking about. To be the one telling people. How this happened, because a few years ago I was also looking for ways to make it happen. And I know, probably there's someone also wanting to make it happen for themselves. I would say that looking at my journey, even though I was lucky in a number of ways. For example, when I did not make it to, in Kenya, we have government sponsorship for university students. So if you get a certain grade, typically an A, you will be sponsored to study a law degree or a medicine degree, or whatever degree you want. But then the selection processes are quite competitive. So it might be that you have a good grade.
That's true.
And you won't get the course you really want for that. So in my year, I wasn't able to get to law school. I got sponsored for an education degree, meaning I would be a teacher. But then I really wanted to be a lawyer. So Riara University happened to be offering scholarships. Two of them. And I remember at the time I was teaching as a community and trained teacher in a village school back home. And I remember seeing the advert for the scholarship, and when I applied it, I was really lucky to get it. My friend called Borugolo and myself got the scholarship. So that I would say was a point that I would say that I was really lucky to have that scholarship, because that changed my journey henceforth. So with the law degree, with the admission to Riara Law School, fully funded, now I was able to really put in a lot of work from day one in law school, and I was able to take more learning opportunities. I remember I took, I worked part-time while also going to school. And I took research positions.
Because you did law back home. And then,
So I'm talking about the law degree I did back home.
Back home, yes.
So I would work while also going to school. And I think in the process, not only did I get money to sustain myself, but also I got a lot of networks that were good for my career.
Yes.
I got a lot of experience and got to be taught by some of the best lawyers back home. So
I see you. I don't want to interrupt you. You were in one of the best law firm in Kenya.
that's correct.
That's
correct.
Talk about the experience in that.
Yeah, one of the most fantastic experiences I've ever had.
Yeah.
It was just after I finished law school,
Mm-hmm.
and already you see I had been working part time while
Yeah.
going to school for my LLB.
Mm-hmm.
So when I finished law school and sat the bar back in Kenya,
Yeah.
I started working for a law firm called Kaplan and Stratton Advocates.
Right.
Excellent work, and I would say, because I'm a dispute resolution lawyer, I was working in the I was happy. I mean, I was given a chance to work in the litigation department.
Right.
So I would get very interesting cases, and I had very knowledgeable bosses that I worked under. So I really learned quite a lot within a period of 2-3 years.
Right.
While I worked there. So it was one of the best experiences. And that was just before I moved to the US
Yeah.
to start my Master of Laws at Harvard.
Wow. And I wanted to go back. How do you got to the 5 tops universities of law school, and like just tell me what was the driving force in order for you to get admitted in the 5 top universities, not just in the United States but in the world? Like, what was the drive to getting into this point?
Right. So I would say I really wanted to do, after practicing for law for a bit back home, I realized that getting an international perspective, gaining international experience, would help me deal with the problems that I think my society is facing. And would probably prepare me, equip me better, give me better skills, better networks in terms of preparing for my future career. So I thought that getting a law degree from the US, a Master of Laws, would really help me. And I also wanted to specialize on constitutional law, as well as a bit of dispute resolution. I didn't know of any other way to do that than coming to the US and doing a master's. But as you already know, getting into Harvard or Columbia or any other top law school is, these are quite competitive.
They're
spaces,
very competitive.
Like,
forget about just these universities. Like law school itself, it's very competitive.
Absolutely.
It's not an easy task. And just for you to get to that top, and looking up your journey, like this morning when I was reading everything, I went through your bio. I was like, wow, I was so, I can't even express. Like I had like goosebumps through my body. I really love it. I was like, wow, this is the black excellence right here. And I'm really happy for you. Just for you doing like everything you're doing and the perspective that you have, like your look in Africa, looking back in Africa and giving back. And we were talking about going, like yesterday, we were talking about what is your decision in order for you, like why you decided to go back home instead of staying here, because you literally have a pass. You can work here or work back home, but you said something. I'm not going to say it. I'll let you say it.
So
what is your decision on that?
No, it's, of course, that was a very complicated decision-making process, because when you come to the US like I did, you want to work in New York, and I sat. A number of people want to work in New York, and initially I was thinking of New York as an option, and that's why I sat the New York bar. But I thought to myself, because I already had law firm experience, and my long-term career seems to be a public career. Why don't I probably go to law teaching or to NGO work on rule of law and governance issues back home? Because my feeling is that back home, there are not many people doing. There are people, but I think more people are needed to be in these spaces, to be in the academia, to be dealing with governance and rule of law issues,
helping the system,
because this system is transformed. Systems are sustained and transformed by their own.
That's exactly.
And I feel like we need more people
to help,
to be involved in these issues. So my decision at the moment is to go back home.
Yeah.
Teach law at my alma mater, Riara Law.
Yes.
As well as find an NGO position and preferably an NGO dealing with constitutional law, governance and rule of law issues, and participate in their work, because I know a number of NGOs are doing really interesting work back home.
Yes.
And Kenya as a country has really made great strides towards constitutionalism,
right,
and towards good governance, and so have many other countries in Africa, and that has been made possible because a number of people participate in such initiatives.
Right.
So my plan is to go back home and do such kind of work, even though I already have the American experience, which I'm really grateful for.
Wow, I'm very, very happy for you. It's not everybody who can say that, because I talk to many students in general, not just like law students, but especially people from just outside, all over the place, all over the world, like the background. I'm just not talking about Africa, but most of the time they stay here. They want to stay here. They go to school here and then they want to stay here. They don't want to go back home. But one thing, I give a reason, because most of the time it's because of the system. Sometimes where we come from, especially let me talk about my own country. That's where I came from. You gotta have connections. If you don't have connections, nobody's gonna help you. Regardless of who you are, how intelligent you are, if you don't have somebody out there, like a minister, whatever the case may be, it's like they don't help you. You just don't get a position that you deserved. And that's the number one thing that sometimes pushes us back in order to stay here. It's not people that I don't know, they think that they just not going back home because the way they portray Africa. I talk about these issues because most people, they are still blind now. When we talk about Africa, it's just like a huge land with nothing in it, which is not true. Yeah. That's the main reason we want, but it's our responsibility to talk about, to put our story out there. Nobody can tell our own story better than us.
Absolutely.
And you see somebody who just read the article and or something like that. Everything like people knows now is just like about Africa. When you talk about Africa, hello, we're going to safari. Like really? Like safari, like, yo, hello, Ricardo. Like I had friends when I got here, like, oh, Ricardo, do you guys like sleep with lions or stuff like that? I don't want to go there because it's a huge thing. People don't know. Africa is such a beautiful continent. We have 54 countries. It's literally, I get really frustrated when I see things. There is this photo that they took in Somalia. I always go back to that because it makes me really upset, with like little kids and belly popping up. But that's it's a tiny piece. You cannot portray Africa as as one little part. It's a 54 countries. It's a big, huge continent. So I'm really glad in everything that you're doing and going back home and helping the system. Eventually, I will go back home too, to see if we can help. But sometimes, like our own leaders, they make it very hard to help.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
And one thing I want to say, Ricardo, is that it's not something only particular to say Angola.
Yeah.
Many of these countries make it hard for people to go back.
Yeah.
So I would understand when someone goes to the New York route or goes to the corporate route.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, even if it was more friendly back home, even people who stay on here, and I have a few friends who have stayed on after graduation, get to gain interesting experience. For example,
if
they work in law firms in New York, they get really good experience, which is transferable elsewhere.
Yeah.
So I would say it's also really a matter dependent on many factors.
Yeah.
Including finances, including interest.
Yeah.
Because there are a few people, many people that I know that are interested in private practice. For such a person listening to me right now,
yeah,
it may not be a very good decision to go back home if
right.
you don't know of a corporate firm
Ex-
will employ
True.
you. So you'd
That's
rather
a very
stay
interesting
in
point.
New York.
Yep.
So I would say that my case would not be the best example. For example, intending to work in private practice,
right,
or intending to gain experience in corporate practice, for example, that such a person may find it useful to work in New York for a while,
yeah,
or in whatever other law firms here in the US before making the decision to move back home. But overall, I totally understand, why
that
some people may find it really hard to go back home because they don't have connections. It's quite a frustrating experience, but totally true.
True. Yeah, and I wanted to go back. Your experience, you have so much under your belt. Again, I'm very proud as African, very, very proud. It's a brother of mine in that position. I was so, I had goosebumps that the very first day that you guys graduated. And I also wanted to send a shout out to every African students, all the guys, we know each other very well. I know all of them, very good people. And the work that you guys put in, I wanted to send a big, big shout out to all of them, each one of them. I think we're going to have to feature the photo here. Like, we are very, very proud of you guys graduating and getting things done and give back home. And one of the things, thank you, of course. Another thing I wanted you to tell, what do you want to say to anyone, not just in Africa as a continent, because we have many people from all over the world, everywhere. What is your number one, what you want to say to anyone who may be in a really kind of bad position, who doesn't really know how the thing works? You want to get to the top level where you got one of the top university. You want to study, is smart, and he doesn't know where to start.
Right.
What do you want to say to Asia, Europe, whatever, everywhere? What do you want to say to that person who's watching you, and just a leap of faith that you want to send to that individual?
Right. So thank you, Ricardo. I think there are a number of people, a number of things I could say.
Yeah.
But I would say the one thing that someone could think about,
yep,
they want to make things happen, is to think about getting information. Because I do feel like even though these things appear to be beyond reach, they are never really beyond reach. It's just that information keeps us away from these opportunities and makes us think that we can't get those opportunities to ourselves.
True.
So I would say if you want to go far in any, even as a professional, because right now I already graduated,
right,
but I have to get a job, for example.
Yes.
Meaning I have to meet the right people.
Yes.
I have to get the right information. Otherwise, I would be jobless, even
Exactly.
with a Harvard degree, right?
Yeah.
Or I would be doing something that I don't really like, right? So for you to get what you really like, you have to, intentionally look for information. Look for the right people. Talk to them.
The network.
Yeah. And people, here's the thing. Coming from Africa, and my Kenyan brothers who undertook the LLM program at Harvard were equally surprised. You come here and you find that we are not really used to networking aggressively.
Yeah.
But the culture here is quite different. People reach out to others and have really fruitful conversations.
Very.
So
True.
that's one thing I've learned from the last 1 year.
Wow, thank you.
On LinkedIn, on Facebook, on wherever. If you think that someone is doing something, interesting and may teach you something, it may help you to actually reach out to them and see if they're willing to speak to you. Some may not be willing to speak to you, and that's okay. But out of 10 people, 1 or 2 will be
able
and
to talk to you.
Sometimes you only need 1. So I would say
that's true.
Getting to the LLM program, I got the help of professors I reached out to back at home, who also went to Harvard and or who went to other law schools. And they had a lot of information that I would have taken 10 years to discover. Exactly. So I would say the first thing is
the network.
Reach out to people
for help.
Get the information. A lot of information is also online. Get the information. That way you're able to think about those things.
There is one thing that you said, I always touch to that again. By doing things you don't like, you end up doing things you don't like. What do you want to say to those ones that they are doing things that they actually don't like, jobs or whatever, and because of somebody out there and things like that? What do you want to say to that?
Right. I think in the ideal world, it would be good if we did things that we like. Because I think that if you do something that you are really passionate about, you really end up doing it well. But I understand that in some cases you may find yourself doing something that you don't really like. It's not unethical or illegal. It's only that you don't really like it. Maybe it's a job that you are doing because you don't have an option. I mean, to such a person, I would understand why such a person would do something they don't like. But what I would say is that, it's always good with time to look for what you actually like in Japan. So you can use what you don't like as a stepping stone. I mean, if you are holding an opportunity you don't really love, you could be looking for other opportunities that you really like, because sometimes it happens that you won't immediately get what you really like.
Thank you so much. I love that. So we about to end. One last thing I wanted to ask you. We cannot close this video, this episode without that. What is your plan 5 years, 10 years from now? How do you want to see? What is the change do you want to see? What do you want to make?
Right. So even though the next 5 to 10 years will depend on many things, I would say that I would want to involve myself over the next 5 to 10 years in constitutional law and governance issues back home. I would probably want to see myself teaching law in a law school, and probably being involved with an NGO working on constitutional law, litigation, and advocacy, as well as rule of law and governance issues. So that would be for 5 to 10 years.
Beautiful.
And within that time, of course, you asked about what I would want to see with did you ask about what I would also want to see in the countries? The country I come from.
What is the change do you want to see?
I think
the system.
My country has done well. Systems are changing and becoming more effective.
Beautiful.
And so have other African countries. But I think I would want to see more countries transforming their governance structures, making them more effective, having a state where leaders respect constitutional values, electoral processes work effectively. So I think there's a lot of work in that space, but I think it would be good to see more countries, starting with my own country, get to a place where stuff works effectively.
I love that. Wow. That was huge. That was big. Thank you for being here, and so much success in your career from now on. Stars in the Making will be always here waiting, and then you can come as many times. We're gonna follow up with you, where you going, everything.
Thank you so much, Ricardo, for having me today. It's been such a great pleasure, and I will pass,
of course,
greetings to
Yes, of course. And every graduate from Harvard 2022, stars in the making, a warm, blessing for everything. Good luck in your careers. We definitely love you guys. We would like you guys to be here, and we're gonna have you guys here as well. Yeah. And one last thing I wanted to say: follow your dreams. Anyone out there, follow your dreams. Nothing is impossible if you put your mind to it. Follow your dreams. Come to the Stars in the Making. If you have something to share, any great story, we are here for you. And again, we are. Peace out, and we love you. Take care. Yes. Right. Got it done?
Got it done.
Yes.